Welcome back to Starfish Coaching. I'm Eric Lee. Today, for my Founders Interview series, I have the honor of interviewing Andre Garrison. He's a serial entrepreneur with multiple businesses, so I'm going to be asking him to give us some secrets and tips for his success. And now I'd like to introduce Andre Garrison. Andre, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Eric. Appreciate it.
Yes, it's my pleasure for sure to have you on the show. You've got so much experience building, buying businesses, and all that. I thought it'd be great to just have you on the show and share some of your secrets and tips that you can give to fellow entrepreneurs as they build their businesses. Maybe we can start by just giving us a high level of what you've done, because you've done so much, all encompassing. I can't cover it, so I'll let you do that part.
Yeah, I've had a number of careers. They all sort of surround around business as a general thing. But I guess going back, part of what I've done and what I do is I'm a writer, I'm a creative writer, I'm a published author. So a lot of the things that I like to do, even in business, writing business plans, that kind of stuff, that's sort of how I sort of got the start. I guess looking way back, always in restaurants, restaurant management, that kind of stuff. I like working with people. Did that from high school, so it was an easy thing to transition to once I got into university. And I use that as a jumping off point for my writing, because you have a lot of time on your hands. Loved sales. That was one of the highest selling keg waiters back in my day. So it was just, I looked at everything as, you have a little territory, your 5-table section, your 6-table section, that's your sales territory. You be prepared, you help other people be prepared, and you're there to make money. And that's how I looked at things from there. My big leap, I guess, into international business is when I moved to Asia. I went to Taiwan in 1997, a little bit early, but I was fascinated by Chinese diplomacy and the Hong Kong handover. So I went there to write about the Hong Kong handover. When I landed, of course, I needed a job. So I had two options. One was write children's books for Disney, and the other one was get into technical writing. So I got into the technical writing and was very good at it, very structured in all of my writing. And I worked for a consumer electronics company. We manufactured scanners, laptops. I was part of the team that did the first digital camera out of Taiwan. Really liked it. I ended up from there getting into writing online help systems. From there, in Asia at that time. So I was in Hsinchu, Taiwan, which is the Silicon Valley of Asia. So you meet a lot of expatriates. I kin myself to them. We all hung out, drank beer, got to know each other. And eventually one of them, approached me and said, "Hey, I work for one of the biggest networking companies in the world. I'm number 3 with that company, and we need to launch a new product into a new market. And I think you'd be perfect for the job. Are you interested?" And without a doubt, I just said, absolutely. Years later, after working for that company, I asked him, I said, "Why did you pick me? You had way more talented individuals to be able to do that." He said, "Well, I saw what you did. I saw how quickly you did things, and you didn't ask for a business plan. Because if I knew how to do it myself, I didn't need anybody." So that launched my international sales career, per se. So basically, our job was we had a little widget, a little $10 widget, which technically was just a USB adapter. So my job was to take this little $10 USB adapter and say, "Hey, from a retail standpoint or from an installation standpoint, you could just ship this out to an end user. They could plug it right into the back of their computer, and voila, they've got internet access." So the hard part, though, was taking this little $10 widget, and how do you get it in front of all of these corporations?
Right.
So my job was, who do I know at AT&T? Nobody. Who do I know at Time Warner Cable? Nobody. Southwest Bell? Zero. Nada. So very arduous, looking at all these executives who I have to approach, none of them who I am. So what I did was I partnered with a distribution company in the United States that had salesmen in all 50 states. And they provided, let's say A to M. So they provided A to M products for these companies. So raw materials, fiber optics, cabling products, things like that. But none of the tech products that we have. So my job, I went around from state to state and trained all their salespeople. And And they took me to high-level meetings with all these people that I wanted to meet because they had established relationships. So one of the first things that I've always said about sales is emulate rather than innovate. You don't have to recreate.
Hmm.
Just follow through with people that have already done it and networking and make partnerships with these people. And they'll basically walk you in the door. So from there, literally state to state to state to state, we landed, basically, all the big companies because that was part of what we were doing. And I took almost single-handedly a small $10 widget to $10 million in sales in the first
Wow.
year. One of the big things that I did in those days, because we did have competition, was anytime I sat down to a meeting, I know that there's 10 other meetings after. We met with AOL and met with Microsoft and stuff. There was 2 days of meetings and people lined up every 20 minutes like it was a job interview. So I went in basically, not wanting 100% of the business, but, after 10% of the business. And one of the tricks that I learned very early on in life from a sales perspective is that you're always making a sale. Everything you do, every conversation that you have, you're making a sale. And if you try and focus in on your needs, like, oh, I need to sell this, I want to do good for my company, you're approaching it the wrong way. Fundamentally, if you walk into any room and say, hey, I can double your business in the next year, or I can increase your gross sales by $10 million in the next year, and it's not going to cost you anything. Are you interested? Of course, they're going to say yes. And you tell them how you're going to help them. Not helping yourself, how you're going to help them, how you're going to streamline the efficiency of their installers, how you're going to help their marketing team, advertise this stuff, make it easy, how end users, all their clients are going to love them because you're making their life easier and making them self-sufficient by, installing these little widgets by themselves.
Right.
So by doubling their business, they don't know that you're quadrupling yours. But the point is, you're approaching it from, let me help. And all business, ever since then, I've always done that. To this day, I'm in commercial real estate, and that's how I help my clients. I don't worry about the paycheck. I worry about helping them. The money always comes.
Right.
And I get a lot of referrals and people sending other people my way because they're so grateful for the help. So another thing that was a big factor in my life that I've always learned is know your product, know your market, and know your competition. So those three things, however they are, whether you're the Cadillac of the networking industry or you're the Hyundai of the networking industry, that's fine because there's a market for both. But once you understand who you are and how you're positioned and how you compete, hey, great. We don't have all the bells and whistles of a Cadillac, but guess what? We're at the price point that you need. We also have a better warranty. So where's the value and associated and stuff? Competition, people say, oh, well, there's too much competition. Competition is good because it means that there's a market for something. It means that market is very, very strong. Going back to emulate rather than innovate, you can be an entrepreneur and you can come up with a wonderful idea of a product that nobody's ever seen before. Oh my God, this is fantastic. But there's no market for that. So you've got a huge uphill battle to try and get this product out there into that. So you're doing all the legwork. I can come along and say, Eric, oh my God, you did a fantastic job with that, but here's where you failed. Here's where that. I could walk in, take all of your stumblings, all your pitfalls, all of the mistakes that you made, not do them, and be exactly where you are for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time. So why go out? I'm not saying to people, don't invent things, don't come up with ideas. I'm just saying from a business standpoint, the quickest way to success, emulate rather than innovate.
Yes. No, that's great. That's I heard two very important points there. One is to know your unique proposition, your unique value proposition, whether you're high or low. There's a market for everyone. You just need to be clear with what your offerings are in your market.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is, I love that term, emulate, don't innovate.
Yep.
There's a lot of effort that you put into innovation, and someone can just come in. So those are great tips that you've shared with us there. I want to go back to well, it seems like throughout your whole career, you've been offered opportunity, and opportunity is great, but I always believe that opportunity is a mixture of timing and action, right? Opportunity can present itself, but if you have the fear that stops you from the action, well, it's no good. So for you, it seems like you just went for it. Talk a little bit about your perspective of fear. Like, was there even a worry that, oh, I'm going to go to, China and grow this and all of that. It's all new, right? So was there any doubts in your mind, and how would you recommend someone overcome that in those situations?
Not really. I mean, some people have clear paths of exactly what they're going to do from when they're very young, etc. So, I did these things that I was always follow the path. I'm a confident guy. Failure is a part of success. If you're not failing, you're not succeeding because you don't know what failure is. It helps you get better. I'm also adaptive and reactive to things that happen. I like to say, I don't, you shouldn't put out fires, you should smoke detect. So I try and think, hey, how can this go sideways? What can happen? You can never try and cover all eventualities. If you can convince yourself that this is a good path because you've eliminated 95% of the problems that you might face, then you're already aware and prepared to take things on as they happen. You can keep hitting that wall and hitting that wall and hitting the wall. Sometimes you need to step back and walk around it. Just think outside the
Right.
box. It's also good with that is you don't have to be self-reliant. I realized when I partnered with that distribution company in the States, for example, or even with all the people I was networking with in Asia at the time, that they opened up so many other opportunities for me. The networking aspect, even problems that I needed to solve. Again, why innovate? I'm not standing there by myself in Asia going, how do I get around? I'm meeting people. Hey, you've been here 5 years. What did you do? You're taking the advice of others. You
Right.
know? And that transpires to exactly what you need to do when you start a business. You start a business and money's tight. Yes, you're trying to do all the jobs, wear all the hats of that person in the business. You're gonna fail because you have a core competency. It's your idea. Do you need to do the books, the accounting, the cooking, the cleaning, all the aspects of that job? To start, maybe you do. But once you've defined what your core competency is, somebody else can do those other tasks and do them better than you can. The money that you spend yourself doing it, thinking that you're saving money, you're actually losing money because you're taking away yourself from what you do best.
Yes.
So utilize other people. It's integral to your business growth. Also, too, by helping to support the bookkeepers, the cleaners, these other people that you're worried about paying, guess what they're doing? They're going to be your customers because you're helping their business and they're going to help your business.
Right.
Learning by being in China, one of the biggest things that you do when you're over there as a business is, unlike North American business where it's like me, 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 one of the first things they do is like, hey, Eric, if we're going to do business together, I'm going to invest $10,000 in your business. And then you're going to invest $10,000 in our business. Then we don't want each other to fail. And that's sort of the business model. I akin it
Right.
basically to Douglas fir trees. Douglas fir trees are some of the biggest trees in the world, but they have a very, very shallow root system. The only way Douglas firs can survive is that they need to be near other Douglas firs so that all their roots underground intertwine. So they bolster or hold each other up, like in big rows. These big, huge trees can't grow without the help of all these other trees. They rely on each other. And that same logic and ideology in business is one business can fail. Several businesses helping are less likely to fail because they support each other and they've got each other's backs.
Right.
So knowing and understanding that and being an Asian and not being afraid to ask for help or advice, I'll use that advice in my own way, but that's what gives me the confidence because I know I'm never alone. And in
Right.
business, you should never be alone.
Right. That's great. I love the analogy with the Douglas fir tree. It paints a perfect picture for that. Many people go into business thinking that they have to do it themselves and they have to succeed on their own. And that's actually, frankly, what stops them in their path of taking on new opportunity because they've got this big beast of burden, if you will, like I like to call it that, but this big thought of so much work because they're not leveraging others, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great tip. So tell me a bit about your multiple businesses, because after the tech industry being sales and all that stuff, you was that when you went to buy business and build your own, or you've been always doing that?
Well, understanding, I mean, obviously, traveling and living in other places in the world and stuff, doing business plans, doing that kind of stuff. I got good at that. I really, really liked that. I would see businesses. I've got a diverse background. I was in restaurants and I've done all, sales jobs. I've been in the insurance industry, the tech game. I'm an author, published author, as an example, just to sidetrack for a little bit. The first book that I wrote, I went like, oh yeah, here you go. And I sent it out to 33 publishers and I got 33 rejections. It didn't stop me. It basically just said, okay, maybe my book wasn't good enough. Then I found a book. I did my research. If you're going to do business with a company, a big company, you're going to apply for a job, research that company. Companies will tell you what they're looking for when they post the job posting. When you respond exactly what they're looking for and asking for.
Right.
So I realized that even though my book would be great, I just wasn't marketing it in the proper perspective. So I bought a book. It was called The Writer's Market, and it detailed all the publishing companies, who bought what kinds of books, et cetera, et cetera. I did my research. I also found out that it cost $20,000 for a publishing company to publish a book, and I'm like, okay, and they might get thousands of submissions and only publish one book. So then what I did was I still wrote books and stuff, but then I said, okay, here's what I think would be a good book to write. I wrote a letter stating that here's my book. Here's basically how it compares to other books in the market. Here's how that publishing company can make money by publishing my book. So basically the same sort of mantra that I've been spewing since we were chatting. I was basically selling them on me making business for them. I sent it to 11 publishers. I hadn't even written the book, just those to them. So then I went and I started to write the book.
Right.
Because it's all about marketing. So I did that and I put that in place. So from when I got into doing getting into the business world of buying and selling companies and starting other companies was largely because I was doing so well running huge billion-dollar organizations, whether it be as director of this or director of that, with other people's money, mind you. I'm like, hey, a lot of these people have lots of money. I was doing fairly good too. I certainly wasn't complaining about having several incomes in US dollars and being paid to me. And so I was like, rather than just invest in markets, I started buying and selling houses, flipping houses, getting into that. I then made a mistake and got into the restaurant business. And my first restaurant, then my first hotel, then my second restaurant. And the big joke is in the restaurant business, what's the quickest way to $1 million in the restaurant business? Start with $2 million. People don't understand. And that was a successful business. It lasted 12 years, 15 years. I stayed on for 7 or 8, that sort of thing. And then got into, various aspects of a caviar company, got into major retail development. And I really liked the idea of not so much business ownership per se, even though the fundamentals of business is the same. Sell, do well, keep your costs low, emulate rather than innovate, market, sell, that kind of stuff. The type of business is very different. The type of customers, a service-based business versus retail business versus and I like the challenges of taking a business and taking it to the next step. And so, I've had a lot of tech businesses. Some didn't turn out so well. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, I did search engine stuff. Way back in the day, you're going to find this funny. In the late 90s, I came up with essentially an MLS system. I wanted to take investors in Asia and take real estate investments in Canada and North America and present it to them in some sort of format. We had lawyers involved. We had the whole shooting match and stuff like that. Gave up on it, and a couple of years later, MLS came out. I'm not saying it's a coincidence, but I'm pretty sure that was my egg to hatch. And somebody, and that's fine. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's somebody taking an idea and expanding on it. That's what inventions are all about, going to patent offices and expanding. Again, emulating, not coming up from scratch. And that's the problem that I faced.
Right.
I didn't know how big to take it. So that's what got me into being an entrepreneur. Small case, big case. There's, as you know, you're an entrepreneur yourself. There's several types of entrepreneurs. There's startup entrepreneurs. There's mid-level growth. There's scaling, and then there's one that take it global.
Right.
I've done various levels of each. I find that I like to take something that's struggling and helping it back to the next level now. But so I guess how I got into commercial real estate was big part of it is helping companies first and foremost either sell or buy or find something, finding gems and turning it around and making
Right. That's great. So I get asked this question a lot because I also have multiple businesses like you. So I'm going to ask you this question. How do you juggle between all of the businesses and all of the pots that you're firing away at the stove there?
Well, fundamentally, I mean, they're not all dissimilar and they're not all directly alike. But as I mentioned earlier, I rely on other people. I rely on people to not perhaps manage things, but I've accountants, I've got bookkeepers, I've got consultants, I've got key people that if I need help in distribution, hey, I call them, immediately. I have had the same thing with the caviar company, for example. So how that came about was uh, father and son needed some help writing, some, marketing material and stuff, and business plan on how to expand. So I went ahead and helped them do that, and then they said, well, hey, this is great. Can you help us, take this to the next level? I said, well, you actually can't afford me. And they said, well, we'll give you a part of the company, just deliver on that. They had sold to end users and stuff. They had a nice little niche market going. I ended up getting them into an airline, into major hotels, got them into Costco, got them into Whole Foods, got them into Walmart. That then launched me because Walmart's like, oh my God, these are products we didn't think we'd ever carry. Can you get us this and this? And I'd be, sure. And then whatever they wanted, I turn around and reach out and talk to various people in organic peanut butter and et cetera from that. So to juggle something, basically be organized to start with. Start with a solid foundation so that you can build on so that if anything happens, you're only going to fall as far as your strongest structure. And rely on other people. I mean, a simple thing, and I've mentioned it before, is core competency. I'm very good at sales. I'm very good at sort of the organizational side of it. Other people are good at, running the day-to-day, handling the minutia, project managers, people that deal with people. I'm a little bit hard-edged, but that's fine. People like that. I'm a straight shooter. At the end of the day, I mean, even the biggest companies in the world, if you compare Samsung and Apple products, even Apple knows that Samsung screens are superlative to theirs. So all the Apple products have Samsung screens on them because core competency. Why create something when something just as good? And rely on the help of others to a degree. I mean, you're not going to hire an accountant or a bookkeeper blindly and not understand at least a little bit about bookkeeping because they could be robbing you blind. But just enough that you don't need to, as Ivan Meisner says, working, on your business rather than working in your business. So
Right.
if you want to grow your business, if you want to have other businesses, in my case, the businesses I have, some of them, they all rely on retail. So I just fulfill the channels with other companies. Sometimes buying a company is better than outsourcing the products from a certain company, or, somebody's retiring and you're like, I can put A and B together. I know C can run it. I have D's money. I have F's, and I'm just basically the guy putting together the Vegas stage show, smoke and mirrors, and bringing the audience in, and like a producer, off you go.
Very humble. Well, what I see is you're an opportunist, which is really good because there's a lot of times where opportunity presents itself and you don't even know that it's there and you let that go by. So that's one key thing that I'm hearing here. Now, both you and I are very similar in the sense that we've got a creative side to us and we're very entrepreneurial. So maybe help me understand a bit from your perspective, the creative side and the sales, because you're very strong in sales. I'll be stereotypical and say that a lot of creative people just are not good at promoting themselves, right? There's that typical stereotype. So maybe speak a bit to that. How do you balance the two, or is it even a struggle for you?
Not really. I mean, one of the first things that I realized even when I was writing was that I need to monetize this. It is my creative side, but I'm like, I looked at it from a business standpoint. I'm writing because I had stories to get out that I wanted to tell and things that I wanted to write about. And I've written comedy scripts and television scripts. And I've done all that because I like doing that. But a big part of that is to monetize it. It's basically, it's putting that. I've done apps, the same thing, business plans. They're there to help ultimately that side. I have so much respect for artists, whether it be musicians or physical artists or dancers or whatever, that essentially give up their jobs and just jump into their craft. That takes
Right.
so much, courage to be able to do that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, then it's the people, the business-minded people, that they need to help them monetize that. Because if they love what they do, they'll never need to work in their life because they love it. They need to live and survive too. And
Of
that's where
course.
companies like publishing companies and record companies come in. They go, "Oh my God, that guy's a good singer," and it's not exploitation. It's sort of, a symbiotic relationship. You're taking somebody's talent and you're recognizing and saying, "Look, I can help you with that." So opportunities, yes, definitely. And for me, it's I read a lot. I like to stay creative. I like doing word puzzles to keep myself sharp. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's you know that creative side. It helps balance. It's whether you're left brain or right brain. I'm not sure of the physiology as to which one does what. And whether I'm I need to have both sides, because if I was just this automatic business guy, robot all the time, and not creative, I would probably lose some of my charm when it came to the sales side.
Yeah,
You got to stop
for
every
sure.
now and again and smell the flowers and appreciate the important things in life. Because at the end of the day, and if you help people too, what's to say
Hmm.
that they're not painters or businesses, or however they all restaurants is an art. It's the chef trying to get his food out. It's all technically art. Doing business and sales is an art. The art of the sale, the art of the deal. So I think they're very tied much closer together than some people realize, and it's people like you and
Right.
I, the entrepreneurs, that realize that that duality. Possessing that duality allows you to be successful on either side.
Yeah. That's great. Throughout everything I've been hearing from your successes, I can see one common theme, which is the way that you approach sales and how it's about helping the other person. Maybe we'll wrap up and just talk about that, because that is an overall theme. Share with us that tip from yourself.
Early in life, I mean, I grew up without a father. So one of the things I always wanted to do was be able to give back. I've been a big brother for 28 years, there with Big Brother Big Sisters program. I've been a mentor with the Vancouver Board of Trade, helping students and stuff that want to follow, again, emulate somebody that's done something that they aspire to do. So for anybody, even all my clients, I'm brutally honest. I will, if I can help them keep their business instead of selling it by following 10 steps, I would prefer that than, have them abandon it. If they're just bad business owners, then so be it. But at the end of the day, it's, by helping these people, it reminds me of when I was younger and when I was going through business and stuff like that. I didn't really have mentors, but I picked little pieces of things that people said that I admired. In some cases, though, it's okay to share that wisdom and learn from these people, because that's what we're here for. Pretty lonely ride if we try to do everything ourselves, and surrounding
Hmm.
ourselves by like-minded people and smart people, and whether you fit in to help people or you're part of a bigger collective of that help, is very important to me. I do what I do even now. I'll use people's services, even though I don't need them, because I know they need the help. Yeah, I could do that. I'm in a better position, and I know it'll come back to me down the road in karma or kindness, or that person will say, "Hey, you know what? This person is really nice. I've got a referral for you to for this real estate or something like that." And if not, then so be it. But I need
Right.
to balance all of the things in my life in that way, shape, and form. Because I don't like to walk alone. I don't like to be alone. I have networking circles. I have mastermind circles, and people that are constantly engaging and helping better me, and I contribute. I'd like to think I contribute my fair share, and that's important.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. And I really like your approach to almost everything, like you said, even dating, right? Everything is a sale, and what light do you put it in? Is it a win lose or a win win situation? I really like your approach to that, and it seems seems like that is one of the keys to your success. So maybe if you can share a bit of your perspective on that.
Well, yeah. So basically, anytime you have a conversation with somebody, it's essentially sales. Either I'm selling you on my point of view, or you're selling me on your point of view. And as long as you're open-minded and listen, because at the end of the day, even if I say, look, I'm gonna help your company, I'm gonna double your business, triple your business and stuff, you can still say no. So the takeaway has to be everything. If the sale's not gonna go your way, it's a learning experience. It's a way to grow your company, to improve your sales pitch, to improve your mannerisms, or just to be enlightened somewhat. So it's like, so Eric, you didn't like this. Why? Oh, it's too big. Okay, so a smaller version like that. Yeah. Oh, you don't like the color. Oh, so a red one, a blue one, whatever reason. At least then I have something to take away from that. If it's a design issue, then so be it. We could change the design to match, the population. If it's a subjective thing rather than an objective thing, then we need to change what makes this important or sellable, et cetera, et cetera. If it's just bad quality altogether, then we need to either lower our marketability. Okay, we're not even the Hyundai, we're the Yugo. We're the Eastern European car. You're lucky to get wheels on this bad boy, and so be it. But if that's the case, then you need to understand where that fits in. But always lead with, if you're not going to get a yes in a sale, with information that's going to help improve the next time around. Some people blindly, they don't know why they do it. They'll walk up to every girl in the bar, get all the no's, but chances are by doing it 100 times, sheer volumes and numbers, they might even get a little bit better. Might come up with being crude, like, hey, sleep with me. No, and then down to the point, can I buy you a drink? Yes. That one yes. And so the success runs. Now, some people don't like to work on sheer numbers. They'd rather pinpoint a target market, and so the success rate is higher so that they're being more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, those are dynamics that we don't need to get into in this chat, but that's, at the end of the day, that's how you approach things. And how I look, most salespeople and good sales managers, hey, you don't go in and say, hey, how about this? No, you don't leave. You say, okay, why not? Let me call you back in 2 weeks if I come up with a different version, or fix this, or et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, when I went after all those big companies, I didn't want their business. I wanted to help their business. And I said, by giving me a chance, and I would say, I know you're a smart businessman. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. Surely you've got multiple suppliers of products, because if there's ever a chipset or a shortage, depending on where you're getting it from, you always want to make sure you have another backup product that's been tested and qualified. So let's get in the door with that. And then that often turns into getting more business, because you're there to help them. They like that. It goes a long way to help companies. It's like the old, I think it started out as like a joke, but the idea behind selling paint. What you do is you say, hey, I'm giving away paint. Like, how can you give away paint? You're not making any money. Well, I make a lot of money because I'm giving away the paint, but I'm making all the money on the brushes, on the rags, on the cloths, on the turpentine, on the rollers, on the trays, on all the things that are actually the cheap things. That's where you're making all your money on. So it's all, it's not sleight of hand. It's basically you walk in trying to get 10% of the business, and you get 80% of it somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. Some great sales tip there for sure. Know your customer, right? And what they like or don't like. Present it in a light that's a win-win and really to help. And from there, you reap other rewards. Why not? Yeah,
exactly.
That's great. Awesome.
And leverage relationships as much as you possibly can.
Yes, that's another great tip. A lot of people are what I call lone rangers, and they think they only can do it themselves, but it's so wrong, so different. Yeah, that's
I've
awesome.
always said that you don't get necessarily a better education going to Harvard than you do wherever we went to school. But what you're paying $30,000 a term for is networking. You're going to school with senators' sons and industrialists. So when you're done and you've got a diploma, hey, you reach out to them. That's what you're getting. You're getting access to things that you wouldn't normally have if you went to a school. That's basically what it is. Leveraging relationships.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Andre. It's been a great conversation with you. There's lots of gold nuggets here that we can pick from and use. So I thank you for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for tuning in with our channel. It's been a founder's interview with Andre Garrison. And if you like this channel, please subscribe and help me grow and sign up for more business tips and advice. Thank you.